Hello there, and welcome to Monkey Channel with me, the Jonin Monkey, reviewing whatever comes to my head because I need more experience points. Today we're looking at 2 more episodes of Series 7 of Doctor Who, starting with The Journey to the Centre of the Tardis. That title is not melodramatic at all. Because the Doctor's ship, the Tardis, dislikes Clara for some reason, the Doctor decides to try and foster relations by switching the TARDIS to easy mode and letting Clara drive it. However, in that exact moment, a salvage ship spots the TARDIS and drags it inside, and from there the problems only multiply. See, the entire tractor beam process basically wrecks the TARDIS, so there's now toxic gas and time paradoxes leaking everywhere around the ship, causing harm to whoever's inside. And unfortunately, Clara's still inside. So the Doctor basically blackmails the salvage crew, which includes 2 brothers and an android, to help him find Clara and fix the damage to his ship before it's too late. This is a very interesting episode. Again, it has a lot of good qualities, although I do suspect this was another episode that had low budget, and the reason why I say that is because the TARDIS always has one very convenient plot device in that no one knows precisely how big the ship is. In fact, the Doctor basically says in the episode it's infinite and can basically create as many rooms as it likes, and also likes to trap intruders by basically making them go through the same corridor over and over again. Which means the episode can save on budget by just having our characters running through the same corridors over and over and over again. But that said, we do get to see interesting bits about the TARDIS here and there, and we do get some cool images. There's one moment towards the end when they finally get towards the core of the TARDIS, and because of the damage, it's basically an explosion. Little shards of metal flying in all directions, but it's frozen in place, and it's just a cool looking image in general. And one thing I'll definitely say about the episode's favour is that the Doctor's character is just awesome in this. There are many layers to the Doctor. The pacifist, the fun-loving guy, the trickster, the being who carries so many burdens, the man with many secrets, etc. And this episode balances all those sides beautifully, and given that we have Matt Smith play the Doctor, his acting is top notch here. Going back to that scene I just mentioned when the TARDIS cores exploded and it's just so badly damaged, his reaction to seeing the TARDIS on the verge of death, it's hard to describe, but the way Matt Smith portrays it, the way the dialogue's written, it's so simple, and yet it says so much. It's the Doctor on the verge of breaking down, just realising the horror that this might be it, that this just might be the end of his one true partner in life. It is such a great moment, and there are other twists involved with the plot, which I won't spoil, but trust me, they're really cool. But unfortunately, this episode left a really foul taste in my mouth, even more so than the Rings of Arcatan. Why? Well, put simply, part of the episode's tension is that things just seem to be getting worse and worse. The more troubles pop up, and the crew are slowly starting to run out of options, and there may be no physical way of escape from this. So, as an audience, we're constantly wondering, well, how are they going to get out of it, for heaven's sake? How are they going to save the day? They do it using a plot device that's extremely tight by Doctor Who standards, and, well, okay. Unfortunately, I can't give any more away without going into spoilers, so
Spoiler territory!
They use the reset button. The Doctor travels back in time and changes events so none of this episode ever happened. Like I said, this has been abused a lot in Doctor Who, but hey, you can make it work if one person remembers, or if the characters learn something from the experience and they've managed to escape but those memories still linger in their minds. Unfortunately, it's the incredibly bland kind of plot reset. The type where everyone just forgets what happened apart from vague recollections, and the episode is just rendered one big waste of time. This is annoying enough in its own, but what makes it really frustrating are 2 key plot points. 1. We finally get some progression on the whole Carla time paradox plot, where the Doctor basically confronts her and says, okay, look, we're going to die, so just tell me, what the bloody hell are you? And then just comes out and says to the frightened Clara, there are 2 people exactly like you, one in the future, one in the past. You are exactly the same person, you share similar traits, who are you, what are you? A frightened Clara just stares back at him and says, I have no idea what you're talking about. The Doctor then realises that Clara isn't messing with him, she's just Clara. I'm sure there is some time paradox plot going on, but as far as he is concerned biologically, she is just Clara. There is nothing deeper or significant about this. So they're finally out in the open. No secrets between them. Just a puzzle that they will solve together if there is indeed a puzzle at all. And Clara even manages to learn the Doctor's name, thus causing another interesting plot point. And then it's reset. Clara still doesn't know why the Doctor finds her fascinating, and as far as we know, we could be wrong, and I hope we're proved wrong, the Doctor doesn't remember either. So that's a great big step of character development that's suddenly erased for no freaking reason. But surprisingly, this isn't the element that pisses me off the most. No, it's the salvage guys. It's not even the salvage guys, just one. Their captain. I forget his name offhand, and frankly I don't wish to remember it. As I said, there are three of them. The captain, his brother, and an android. His brother is a dumb musclehead and he gets killed off very early on. The android is analytical, occasionally points out the brother's stupidity, and even tells them, hey, this machine is alive, man, you can't just nick bits from it. And the captain is a flat-out idiot, because even when the Doctor flat-out explains, look, the reason why the Tardis is sending us round and round in circles and bleeding us straight into danger is because you are carrying parts of it in your rucksack, let it go. The captain still holds on to it. Even when it looks like they're all about to die, he still holds on to the part thinking he might be able to salvage something. I understand that you've got to make a living, but even the dumbest people, even the greediest people, know that self-preservation comes first. Holding on to the source of your troubles is not a good idea. But whilst parts of the plot are caused by his stupidity, that's nothing compared to what happens later on. There's a moment when the android gets impaled on one of these spikes, and he basically says to the captain, cut my arm off, it's the logical thing to do, you can just build me a new one, I'm metal, I won't feel it. But the captain can't bring himself to do it. And then the Doctor quickly puts two and two together and realises the truth. And after some cajoling, he convinces the captain to tell him the truth. The android is not an android at all. He is human. To be more precise, the captain's younger brother Tricky. Tricky was always the smartest of the three, and he was the first in line to be captain when their father passed away. However, an accident robbed him of his sight, his voice box, and his memory. So, they used the future technology to give him special robotic eyes and a new voice box, and then proceeded to mess with the amnesiac by telling him that he was an android created to serve them so that the captain could become the captain. And they continued this joke, as he puts it, for several years. Let me repeat that. This guy looked down at his kid brother, who's now been hurt in such a bad way, freaking disabled, lost his memory, and says, hey, I've got a fun idea. Let's screw with him and pretend he's a robot. And you know what's even worse? At the start of the episode, they treat him like crap because he's a robot. There's one moment when the Tricky was saying, I'm bored, and he went, no, you can't be bored. Androids can't be bored. All of the standard robot prejudice you get in science fiction settings, except he was doing this to his younger brother, knowing full well that he wasn't a f***ing robot. He spent 2 years lying to him, demeaning him, mocking him. And I'm supposed to give a shit if he survives? And I know Doctor Who has always had this rather silly thing of, oh, there's a speck of goodness in everyone, and everyone has the chance to redeem themselves, to make up for their thing. Nuh-uh, I'm not buying it. Not with this guy. Not after what he did to his brother. Just deciding not to cut his arm and making one pathetic attempt to save him later in the episode does not justify crap. To paraphrase a line from old Harry's game, one good deed doesn't counteract a million evil ones. Do the math. Now, this whole redemption BS might have been a little easier to swallow if we had some slight further candor to admit that, okay, I messed up, I was complete and utter arsehole, but I'm going to change and make your life happier. But we got the f***ing reset button. Oh yeah, that means we can revive the musclehead we killed off for no reason. Whoop they f***ing damn do. The brother still thinks he's an android, and the only shred of hope is one scene where the salvage ship flies away and the musclehead is bullying the android over food, and the captain says, no, let him have the food. And when asked why he's helping him, just says, maybe I have a shred of human decency. Not enough to actually come out and tell the truth, mind you, just enough to maybe treat him a little less crappily than he did before. Ugh. For those of you wondering why I was being nice to start like the Cold War and Bells of St. John, which a lot of fans were complaining about, I don't care about little nitpicky details. As I've said before, Doctor Who is a show aimed at younger audiences that plays fast and loose with science all the time. So I don't care about nitpicky details like, oh, sound can't travel in space, so therefore the giant sun godfish shouldn't have been able to hear them sing. Yes, it would be better if the show was more scientifically accurate, but we're talking about a time-traveling man in a ship that takes up infinite space, so we can let that slide. The stuff I actually care about is the story, the characters, what they're saying, what moves the plot forward. And in this case, the ending of this episode angers me so much. I just can't believe this. I can't believe writers looked at this script, looked at the twist, looked at the reset ending, and said, hey, I don't think we can leave things like this. This idea that if you're nice some of the time, that makes up for everything. No, it doesn't. You have to do something monumental to redeem yourself after actions like that. If you hurt people, use them the way this guy did, there have to be consequences. Either he has to be overcome by guilt and realise his fault and work the rest of his life to undo them, or he has to die in the most painful way imaginable, which in my case involves lava, a lawnmower, katana, knives, and a kitten desperately searching for fish. In that order. Overall, this episode is a dramatic mixed bag. There are some really good moments in this story, but some of the cruel twists and the absolutely horrible ending just left a really bad taste in my mouth. And so, whilst it's not technically the worst so far, it is the one that has pissed me off the most. That's why I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. Great moments cannot counteract for something so mind-numbingly horrible as that ending. Okay, I need to calm down. Let's move on to the next episode. The next episode is called The Crimson Horror. This is going to be a much shorter review for the simple reason that it's an incredibly simple episode and it's a lot of fun. Set in Victorian Lancashire, yeah, not in Victorian London, there's a shock, there is a nice woman named Mrs. Sweets, who sets up this nice special haven for people who just want to get away from the terrible, cruel world that is the Victorian era. That said, a lot of the people who go to that manor either stop contacting their friends and loved ones, or end up being found in the river with bright red skin and are just, well, frozen and dead. And their body chemistry has also been changed drastically, so you can actually see the last image in their eyes before they died. All of these symptoms are collectively known by the local people as the Crimson Horror. And it's while investigating this that Vastra, a humanoid dinosaur who is now working as a detective, though why I'll explain in a moment, comes across a victim of the Crimson Horror who has imprinted on their eyes an image of the Doctor. And so she and her comrades Jenny and Strax have to break into the Sweetsville compound to find out what's going on and see if they can find the Doctor. Now, I should quickly mention some continuity here for those of you who haven't seen the show. In one of the bigger mid-season finales of the show, A Good Man Goes to War, the Doctor ends up calling on various people he's helped throughout his adventures. One of them being a character that we've never seen before that was quickly introduced, and she was a character that became immensely popular with the fanbase for various reasons. She was a member of an established Doctor Who race, although honestly their name forgets me at the moment, who are basically dinosaurs that evolved to take humanoid forms. So she's been on Earth for a long, long time, let's put it like that. Anyway, it established her as a detective in Victorian London who is accompanied everywhere by her maid, who eventually became her wife, Jenny. As of the Christmas special, they also gained another companion who serves as their butler, named Strax, who is the Suntaran, a race of, well, very trigger-happy aliens, let's put it that way. And I've got to be honest, I'm really happy to see these guys again, because I always enjoy it when they're on screen. And thankfully, they've gone over the rough patch they went through in the Christmas special, because, like I said, in the Christmas special, they had Jenny and Vastra get married, which would be perfectly fine, except they went through the really bad writing mistake of, hello there, we're lesbians. We're going to tell everyone that we're lesbians, because that's what lesbians do. They tell everyone that they're lesbians. In Victorian England, where homosexuality is punishable by death. We're lesbians. Yeah, that was just cringeworthy writing, but thankfully they've gone over that now, and they've gone back to what they do best. Solving mysteries and kicking ass, and I do like the fact that the episode starts from their focus and they're trying to find the Doctor, because one, it's always interesting to focus on the supporting cast, two, it shows that the Doctor is human. One problem I had with the episode Hyde was that the Doctor basically just shows up and completely undermines everything the Ghost Hunters had done. He was just saying, you've been doing an interesting job now, let me show you how it's done. Bum, bum, bum. I know what it is, and you're going to do everything I say. You know, the Psychic was the only important one, and the other poor bloke just stood there. Yeah, every single member of the supporting cast gets to do something, and we get reminded that, yes, the Doctor is amazing, but he can also screw up every once in a while. And apart from that, the only thing I can say about this episode is that, yes, it's really, really silly. The entire premise is goofy, and the more you find out about it, the goofier it becomes. But I honestly like it. It is a lot of fun. The banter between the characters is well written and amusing. There's some good emotional tension from Giddy Flower and her daughter Anna, at least I think her name was Anna. And it has the classic Doctor Who thing of, oh no, something terrible's gonna happen, there's a countdown, we need to get there in time, etc. It's just, there's no real significant depth or substance, but it is still a fun ride. The only real criticism I have with the episode is that it is extremely fast-paced. It's not quite as bad as Hyde was, but it does mean that characters do seem to make sudden leaps of logic with barely any establishment. Like, Clara suddenly points out to the Doctor that Sweetfield has a chimney, but there's no smoke. Now, we never saw Clara looking at this chimney, and in fact, I think we barely have any kind of establishing shot of the chimney, but hey, Clara's helping, that's good, right? And there were just a few weird moments like that that just make the mystery solving seem a little bit suspect, to be honest. I should also talk about one really weird scene at the end. I would normally put this under spoiler warning, but this scene doesn't have anything to do with the story. It only exists to set up the next episode. It's not exactly a bad scene, it's just really weird. See, Carla comes back from all the time-travelling shenanigans and is about to resume her duties as a nanny, because I forgot to mention that in the Bells of St. John, it's established that she works as a babysitter looking after 2 kids. And she comes back to find a laptop filled with pictures of her from different timelines. And the kids suddenly reveal that they found a picture of her in school, and they did some more Googling that found yet more evidence of her time-traveling shenanigans. And basically they blackmail her by saying, let us go time-traveling with you, or we'll tell our father what you've been up to. Again, this isn't a bad scene. In fact, one of the things it does do is move the whole Carla paradox thing forward again, because Clara sees a photo of herself from Victorian London and is confused since, as we established, she was in Victorian Lancashire, establishing a plot point that we can use for further progression. But the rest of the scene is just baffling. In fact, to be honest, it kind of reminds me of a scene from To Boldly Flee. I don't know if any of you saw that web movie, but I ended up asking the same questions. Where did you get these photos? Why are they so well shot? When did you guys find time to do all of this? I mean, it would be one thing if Carla was in the corner of, like, say, an action shot or a crowd scene, but all of these photos are ridiculously well shot. Like, they are well-positioned group shots, almost like cast photos. And this is from scenes like Hyde and Cold War. when did these guys find time to do this? I mean, why would a Russian captain allow cameras and photos to be taken of a secret mission? And then there's the photo of past Clara. Now, putting aside whether or not you can actually get photos of that quality in the Victorian era, it's just a shot of past Clara in the middle of the street. The way this photo is set up, it looks like past Clara hired a professional photographer to take a portrait picture of her and then posed in the middle of a Victorian street that just happens to be empty. And even if I ignore those nitpicky details, it's the idea that the kids, by sheer coincidence, just stumbled across a photo. It just baffles me. Surely some of these must have been lost to the mists of time. There are some old episodes of Doctor Who you can't find anymore. And I could probably forgive all of these if it wasn't quite a big deal that just happens at the last second. Like, this happened literally in the last 2 minutes of the story. It's just all of a sudden, well, it's just all of a sudden, we've come back from a fun adventure. Boom, we know who you are, bitch. Take us with you. And I'll be honest, for the way these kids were acting, I'm really not looking forward to the next episode, because the teaser trailer for that showed that the kids play a big part in the episode, and let's just say that scene did not give me a very good first impression of them. But aside from that, this was a really good episode. It's Doctor Who at its silliest, yes, but it is also really enjoyable, and it's a good showcase of Vastra Jonin Strikes, even if Vastra herself doesn't get to do much apart from provide exposition. But still, I had a lot of fun watching it, and that's why I'm giving it 8 out of 10. Also, on a side note, I would like to see a spin-off focused on Vastra Jonin Strikes, just so we can have episodes focused on the mystery aspect, rather than having to instantly rush into the typical Doctor Who gigantic threats on a big scale that the Doctor has to stop. But if we only get to see them once every few episodes, I'll be okay with that. And that's everything. I've been the Jonin Monkey, and join me in a fortnight's time when we cover the next 2 episodes. But until then, cheerio.